à disposição. I'm going to switch to English because the first partner that we have with us is Philippe Mazurier. He's from Bleckwen. It's a French company. And the first question I'm going to address to you, Philippe, is can you quickly give us an overview on the payment system in Europe and the types of fraud that you guys are fighting over there?
Yeah, for sure. Bom dia a todo. So my name is Philippe. Just a quick word about the company, what we are doing. So we are in fraud prevention, obviously. And what we are offering is two things to the banks. The first one is a payment fraud and transaction monitoring platform. So we designed that for a bank you may know, which is called BNP Paribas, which they are using our technology in the entire world. And we also offer a SaaS service, which is a AI-powered score to understand whether you have a fraud at credit, at onboarding. We have customers that you know as well, like Stellantis, Mobilize, or Carrefour Banco. So the payment ecosystem in Europe, yeah, it's important for you to understand, to check whether it's similar to what you are facing here. There is what we call the single euro payment area, which is all the countries that are using euro. So this has been chosen by 20 countries. But this system, this SEPA system, is also used by another 16 countries. They are using different currency, but they lean on this technology to exchange their money. The type of fraud that we are facing in Europe, it's not any longer, I mean, the thing that prevents the people to sleep at night is not any longer account takeover, because there are tons of systems to be able to check who is talking, whether it's digitally, whether it's in presential. The real issue is what we call first-party fraud. It means that the real payment initiator or the person who is applying for a credit is a legitimate customer. It's your customer, it's whether it's an individual, whether it's a company. So it's all about social engineering, it's all about threatening people, it's all about manipulation. So we can talk about CEO fraud for corporate, it's no authorized push payment fraud. So it's really, and that is a big issue for people because they need to, and they are facing their legitimate customer, but still they have to stop fraudulent activity.
Thank you so much. So it's just like a fraud identity, like identity theft, or is it because in Brazil we have good people or clients that seem to be reliable and trustworthy, but they're actually renting out their data or their account for fraudsters or criminal organizations. So it would be the same or just identity theft?
No, it's not identity theft. This is the issue. It's really people who are either manipulated, so they will give their identity, or they will initiate a payment because they have been promised some money facing that. So this is the real issue, or they are threatened or whatever, but it's not identity theft. Well, there is some ID theft issue, but this is not the main issue.
I see. E aí vou mudar de volta para português. And how Bleckwen technology is also aiding their customers in Europe in everything that's being discussed here in terms of prevention, fraud prevention, human behavior recognition, and all these gadgets that now we have in our favor to do prevention.
Right, and sorry in advance for any repetition, but I lost the translation for quite a while, so I'm not sure what has been shared by our friends here. What are we, the kind of technology we are using to prevent fraud for payment or onboarding fraud is, I would say, not revolutionary, because we need to, I mean, we are in instant payment now, since what I forgot to explain is that the SEPA world has now moved to instant payment, because it's mandatory by law since January this year. It has been enforced by the European Bank, Central Bank, to make all the instant payment free. So this is becoming the new normality. So it's like pigs here. We have to process payments within 10 seconds. That has a couple of, it comes also with a couple of obligations.
Cross-border payments as well, because you mentioned like 20 countries with euros.
Yeah, absolutely. Cross-border payment. Everything which is processed under the SEPA system can be processed in less than 10 seconds.
PIX is not cross-border yet, so okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. But it's a global system which is cross-border on its own. It's coming with several obligations. One of them is about sanction screening, sorry. So in real time, before you're sending money to someone else, you have to check on the European sanction list. And this is the first heavy application of AI, because there is no way all systems based on rules that we are looking for exact matches can cope with the speed, and they will generate too many false positives. So this is a first application of AI. Then when it comes to fraud, as we discussed, and AWS is also sharing our view, it's really about analyzing the behavior, because you are facing most of the time, it's your real client who is doing the fraud, manipulated or not. So you need to understand for each individual client what is their behavior, what are they usually doing to do. And for each payment, you need to understand whether is it your client, is he doing that on a normal disposition, is he threatened, or is he trying to defraud you? And you need to compare that as well with what are the peers, the clients. When I say client, it can be individual or corporate. What are they looking, how does this transaction look compared with what their peers are doing? So we have made many different approaches in AI in our lab. So our data scientists have worked a lot, and specifically with a focus on diminishing the false positive, because we are in instant payment. There is no way we can review an alert. And what they came out with, the most efficient technology is supervised machine learning. Supervised machine learning with 3 models like XGBoost, for example. So this is not a revolution in AI. We're not talking about Gen AI or whatever, but this is what has proven to be the best to prevent fraud with very low false positive. But this is machine learning. But now, because fraudsters are more and more sophisticated, I mean, they are organized, they are doing very savvy frauds, we have to, what is happening now is you need to go to advanced machine learning, what I call advanced machine learning, not sure it's well understood. It means that you need to have models that are dealing with hundreds of features. So the feature is, I don't know if you're familiar with that is the basic of a model. So you need to understand what are the features that are relevant to catch fraud. And you need to be able to design and to process in real time hundreds of very, very complex features. And this is where you have the real difference and the real know-how of a vendor. This is where the differentiation is done. And I would say the last thing I was hearing Gen AI many times, and sorry because it was in Portuguese, but in Europe, we've had last year a new regulation which is called the AI Act. I'm not sure whether you have the same here, but if you pass the AI Act with data privacy, like your LGPD here, it means that you have to document. When you are creating models to try and stop fraud. You have to explain that the data you're using, the features you're using, and also to make sure that your models are fair, that there are no discrimination. So this is the first thing that the regulation is enforcing us to do as vendors. And the second thing is about explainability as well, because a decision can be taken by a machine. So you have to explain that decision, both for the analyst, but also for compliance purposes. And this is where Gen AI is starting to be very helpful, because it can convert signals sent back by a model to explainable Portuguese or French or English, whatever. So this is an area of application for Gen AI.
Muito bom.